All right, well, I think we are all here. Oh, everyone, thank you so much. Call the meeting to order. If we get to stand, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thanks, everyone. Good morning. All right, I believe everyone had a chance to review the minutes. Look for a motion. Make a motion. Morris, thank you. A second from Roy. Any discussion? No. All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. Let's jump right into the resolutions today. We've got one authorizing our county to apply for the New York State Homes Community Renewal Housing Trust Corporation and a bunch of other stuff. Dave, go ahead.
Well, Don can answer any questions. This is the culmination of the public hearing from last month's legislative meeting and the final approval. This program is far different than any CDBG grant we've ever saw. We had to go through various steps, not just here, but with the folks at Housing Community Renewal, modifying, adjusting, making changes that they were comfortable with before they finally said, you're now authorized to make this application. So that was a big step, and this is the next step. There's documents that they require to leave this resolution. If you have specific questions about programs, I can answer those for you.
And Dave, the funding source of this is CARES Act funding. Is that correct? This is outside of the normal annual application process, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I think everyone saw it. I'll quickly read it here. There's air quality improvements, congregate living environments, small rural affordable housing complexes, 8 units or less, and owned by not-for-profits. Housing improvements for increasing housing shelter beds, rental housing repairs for landlords who are participating in our government subsidized rental programs in Oswego. A pretty good summary of what we're doing. Anything that's left out or anything changed from that information. One, thank you guys for going out, finding these funds, and hopefully bringing them back to us. We appreciate it. Anybody, actually, let me look for a motion to discuss here. A motion. Very good. Thank you. I have a second. Great. All right. Any discussion? Great.
Who oversees this program with disbursement of the funds?
Locally,
Yes.
so we will have the overall administration of the program, but specific pieces of it will be done by third-party partners who work specifically in the fields that are mentioned here. So like the one that references the not-for-profit housing activities, that's the Oswego County Housing Development Council. They've been our partner for a long time in rural areas. Ed, were you on that board? No, Ed wasn't, but it's a board that includes the county. They used to have the community development director from the city of Fulton. It's got the bank manager from community bank in Alaska. So it's a well-balanced board, and they take care of the needs, the very rural areas.
Who selects the landlords and how do they follow?
That's a down question.
The landlords will be, they have to want to have their place fixed up. Basically, if social services or Section 8 or some housing office goes out and the inspection fails and they need to do like lead-based paint removal or they need plumbing, something that will help it pass the minimum standards, then we can offer them this program. The caveat is they have to agree to rent to a government subsidized person. So they get the repairs done to meet the minimum housing quality standards, and we get another rental unit on the books. There's a problem with the quality of the rental stock in Oswego County that's affordable. We have a lot of new stuff, or we have things that aren't quite completed yet, But, so it's a way to improve the housing stock and ensure affordable housing.
Donna, is it divided equally among these poorly managed landlords' facilities?
Well, they have to be willing to sign a contract, and it'll be by unit. And pretty much, if the renter finds a place that is substandard and the landlord says, okay, I'll participate, then it's kind of first come, first served based on, the need. If a landlord wants to come ahead of time, great. There'll be an opportunity for that.
Is there a cap per unit?
Yeah, it's, well, it's $10,000 cap, but it's between 1,000 and 10,000. And we haven't ironed this part out yet because it's really program administration, but, if they want to get out of the 5-year commitment, they would have to pay back at a prorated cost of what we gave them or assisted with. And then, it would also, lead-based paint is probably the only way you get $10,000 because that's an unmet need, basically in the whole United States, and that's expensive. Otherwise, your regular maintenance, and you have to get 3 cost estimates and kind of thing.
So you say the program is 5 years, so they have to agree to rent to a subsidized family for 5 years.
Okay, and then, I guess there wasn't, if there was interest in any of our districts or in our areas of the county, what's the best way for us to forward that interest to your office?
Probably just give us a call after we get the money because we can't do anything,
Well, they would reach out to your office, not to one of the partners, is that correct?
Right, I would, yeah. Is what we.
Yeah, we're like umbrella organization.
Is that something we'll publicize once that money's available as well? Where did you?
Yeah, just how would you publicize it? What methods would you use to get word out?
The typical, we'll use our partners in the public information office, put out press release, and then work with the other third-party partners and their processes to notify their regular participants, the communities that they work in.
And I'm wondering, I guess, because some of the outlying areas have some really, we've heard about problems out, my way and way.
We were gonna have Dave just have a sandwich board and kind of walk around the neighborhoods.
So I don't know that they get a lot of the traditional methods that we might use. We're familiar with particular housing problems. It might be good to kind of have the local legislator identify some of them, or even
We'd be happy to take recommendations. I don't
even
know that-
DSS might be able to, because they're aware of some of the facilities that are, pretty bad.
But this is just to the HUD standards, right? How does this relate with the DSS properties we've talked about in the past, kind of that urgent need properties where they don't necessarily go through the same review process?
Right, we can assist those as well.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was-
It's any government subsidized, so that's DSS. I think OCO has a rapid rehousing program and, Section 8.
I think that's kind of where we're leaning, because we've had some concerns in the past with some of these DSS urgent need homes and houses where they don't necessarily go through the same standards requirement that our HUD program does. Our HUD program obviously already has these standards right in place. So if there'd be a way, maybe we could work with DSS there are certain areas that they're sending people to somewhat frequently that maybe do not have the same standards. It might be nice for us to be able to help those places.
And we're going to sort of follow up, and we have that memorandum of understanding in Oswego, and it looks like Fulton's trying to push for something so similar down the city. So the problem apparently is that DSS doesn't necessarily get to select some of these clients, get the money and get to choose where they're going to stay, and then find out kind of after the fact that it may be substandard. So if there was a way to contact some of those landlords,
I think that's correct too, because what we talked about is with DSS, they don't necessarily have to put it in one of the certain pre-approved places, right? But, I believe some of these folks.
No, like I said, there are cases where apparently they don't even get, they don't select at all. The tenant gets to use the money, the client gets to use the money to select where they're going to stay.
Without any real review process from us.
Without any review process, we find out about it a month later.
Yeah, I don't know that we can, impact their process, but we can certainly help.
Yeah, I'm not looking to impact the process. I'm looking to try to have a way to identify some of the real problem houses that we are, can be aware of.
And it was, your point, the MOU that you point out that, you know, with the cities, they do many of them have a rental permit structure, right? And so the agreement was with DSS that they would only place people, into homes that had a permit file. The hope would be then that they've been inspected, that they've been approved, that we're putting people in homes that are safe for them.
Right.
Unfortunately, most of the county, we don't have rental permit process, so that would be difficult with that. As far as at least the cities go, it's.
Because of Airbnb, there's a lot of municipalities that are looking at that though now, especially the ones that have any kind of large.
Sure.
I mean, it's becoming a problem on the lake. And in Constantia, it's becoming a problem on the river. That's a different problem, but it's sort of all the same category. We keep trying to improve, housing stock in general, with the land bank, and then this is the program if we get some of the right people.
All right, any other questions or thoughts? Thank you, everyone. Then I will look for a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Great, thank you. All right, let's jump on to the second one, the resolution authorizing the adoption and implementation of the Oswego County Coordinated Transportation Plan. I'm sorry I neglected to welcome Monty and Frank. I believe is Frank back there somewhere as well? There he is. Hi, gentlemen. Good to see you up on the wall over here. We appreciate you stopping in to visit with us and to give us some information on this. So I'm going to look for a motion. If I have it. Well, thank you. Do I have a second? Many seconds. We're going to go ahead then, and why don't you guys kick us off?
Okay, let's.
Ellie Brooks. We're buffering. Okay. I think we've got you.
Oh,
Yeah. Everybody turn off your cell phones. No. It's going to go in real nicely with our county-wide broadband. Yes.
can you see the plan?
Yeah, actually, we can see it and we can faintly hear you. Is there a way to turn this up? Or is it on this thing? All the way up? Okay.
Is the speaker all the
Yeah, that's all the way up to.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate the time for this morning. Can you hear me now? Can you still hear me?
They're out of state.
Dave sent us to Florida to check
No,
on.
it just happened that this.
Monty, hang out for just a
retirement
second,
homes.
sir. We're going to try and find a way to turn this volume up a little bit. We may have you call in separately. We can see the picture though.
We have the slides here too.
Yes, yes. And I made sure that each of the members here, you've got the binder. I gave Paul, you, and Boris, I gave it to you. And Ed, I think you've got yours, and I see Marie has hers, and Roy. That's the full version of what they did. A lot of work went into this. It wasn't just people sitting behind a desk. This was boots on the ground getting information as well as.
Good morning.
There we go.
You can hear us. So now,
Yes, we can hear you.
they're watching this stream. Yeah. So you can hear me without the echo?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. I want to thank Chanel of getting me through this challenge of being away and doing this online. So in front of you, you do have the Oswego County Coordinated Plan, and this morning Frank and I are just going to give you a brief overview. I know you have a busy day in front of you of what we found and some recommendations and goals and strategies that we want to share with you. So the Coordinated Plan for Mobility Service, it was prepared to identify cost-effective approaches to address the public transportation gaps. We wanted to look at minimizing the duplication of transportation services and to improve the coordination among the services to persons with disabilities, older residents, and college students. Also, we want to improve access for transportation services for all Oswego County residents, those seeking access to employment, education, medical appointments, food services, recreational, and social destinations. What we found, now the data that we reviewed is that we use in collecting the data was the Census 2019 American Community Survey, policy maps, city data, and Google Maps. And all that is within your plan. We looked at median household income. We looked at households with no vehicles, 0 vehicles in the households, which was clearly a barrier for folks in Richmond, Pulaski, Orwell, Scriba, Palermo, those areas where it's just no vehicle transportation, and clearly that would make it hard to get to employment, and the need for public service, public transportation is great in those areas. We looked at access to healthcare, poverty rates, and with persons with disabilities, because we know the impact of poverty is profound, and when it affects a person living with disability, it doubles. Being isolated, or the barrier of social isolation is just one of these compounding factors. Access to quality and affordable health care and the need for public transportations are linked together. Together, public transportation can take the lead and provide access to health care and make that a reality for folks. We also looked at commute times. Transportation challenges were identified as a major barrier for low-income Oswego County residents in nearly every focus group or interview conducted by the Center of Governmental Research. Those interviewed identified the limitations of the existing public transportation system, getting people to employment, schools, and various services. Many just stated the commute times, and the example that was given more than once was a 2-hour commute to get to an appointment, and the appointment was 30, maybe to 45 minutes, and then a 2-hour commute home. So basically a 5-hour day for a 30-minute appointment that they had to do, especially if you are a low-income person relying on social services and services throughout Onondaga County. So then in formalizing the plan, we sent out surveys to human service agencies and to employers throughout Oswego County, asking them to help us put down what they see as the barriers in transportation in Oswego County. We held additional meetings with stakeholders, employers, human service agencies, community providers throughout the county. We went and met one-on-one with a lot of employers, human service agencies to get their feedback on on what are the barriers, and also what are some of the solutions that they could see that transportation could help them and their services. We gathered information from riderships, although it was limited last summer and last fall due to COVID. I did talk to a number of riders that use public transportation, talked to riders at different human service agencies while they were waiting for transportation, and then again talking with the providers who were trying to help those use public transportation. The key findings, what we found. Now, data was again collected from surveys, reports, webinars, the virtual workshops, in-person meetings, all this was used to identify transportation gaps and barriers. The full list is within the plan. What you're going to see here are, these seem to be the ones that were repeated most often. Insufficient transportation to employment services, education places, drop-off and pick-up locations, more transfer points were needed throughout the county, just hubs, so a person could use Oswego Public Transit to get to Central, to get to wherever they needed to go. Overall timing of the routes, they felt just needed to be improved. A need for clear messaging for people who use the bus and those who are trying to help them use the bus. The schedules are very confusing. They didn't understand them. We did have some schedules made up in Spanish that were well received. And again, that it was in another language was helpful, but also a little bit confusing. Affordability was an issue, and although $2 a trip may not seem like a lot if you're on a fixed income or a limited income, and that's $2 out, $2 back, and that's 3 or 4 times a week. Again, that cost mounts up because, again, you're limited income. And if you're trying to use call and ride or on-demand services, again, your affordability to you, that becomes extremely costly, especially if you're not on Medicaid. We also looked at, or they told us about the after-hour services of OPT, Oswego Public Transit. Basically, it ends at 6:30, and that many folks who are on second shift or some of the educational trainings that they were going to that let out at 8:30 or 9, folks could get to where they were going, but then they didn't have a way home, and again, they would be stranded at their job or educational site at 8:30 or 9. There was a need for more parking rides throughout the county, and the schedules were just not conducive to meet the needs for when folks had medical appointments or appointments to human services. In putting together the plan, we looked at socioeconomic data and tried to assess the needs of individuals with disability, older adults, minority college students, the underserved populations, and persons with limited income. We also did inventories of the existing services to determine whether redundant transportation services and the need to identify gaps in services. And right here, I just want to state that on page 30, it's highlighted on yellow. The 5310 provider is not listed. At the time when we were putting this together, that has not been awarded. When it is awarded, we will put it into the plan because it would be a service that would be offered to the community. We identified the goals and strategies to address the gaps in services, again, looking at or reducing, eliminating duplication of services, looking at more efficient utilizations of the services. And looking at the goals and strategies, we also are going to strategize these goals and strategies and to improve public transit, and also looking at other modes of transportation in the county for residents to have access to. Improving public transportation service. So now, really, we looked at if we can address the current needs that are identified in the plan. There are some board goals and strategies that were identified to address the current needs. There were 13 goals and over 40 strategies associated. 40 strategies associated with the goals. The Transportation Advisory Committee, which Legislature Chesbro chairs, we meet monthly, basically from February or March through October. We recently divided the teams, the committee into 3 teams. And for each team, they're going to receive 3 or 4 goals that they can kind of hone in on, look at, review, make some priorities and tell us what are the priorities of the 3 or 4 goals that they are reviewing. Then we'll get back together collectively as a whole, prioritize recommendations from each group, and that will help us establish a timeline and also help us give recommendations and how to address new goals and future challenges to transportation. In doing all my research, I just like this saying that was out there from William Marhart, who was the former president of the American Public Transportation Association from October of 1984 through 96. And again, it doesn't take much for public transportation. I mean, it is the most effective single way of transportation in the country to reduce the energy consumption. Our goal is hopefully not only for seniors and low income, but that public transportation is for everyone. Now, you don't need any new taxes for that, no mandates, whatever. But again, we want to get it to the point that everyone, regardless of your income or your status, would think that public transportation is reliable, it's health, it's safety, it's enjoyable to take, and it's accessible to all in the county. Are there any questions?
All right, well, Lonnie and Frank, thank you so much for all the work that you put into this. I want to highlight a couple of folks here. I know John and Dave, this is something you guys have been working on for probably better part of a decade. So appreciate what you guys did in kind of get started. Roy, I want to thank you for all the work you put in through the anti-poverty collaborative. I know this is something you were very passionate about and still are. And I really appreciate the work you've done sharing this the last few years. I think this is, we've mentioned multiple times that this is one of our greatest, the rural community that we are, one of our greatest issues with poverty is the transportation. So I appreciate all you folks really just highlighting the need and really looking to come up with some solutions for it. I know we've got most of the legislators who are excited to see what comes next with this. So again, thank you. Is there any questions though for Lonnie or Frank or really anyone else here? I guess my question is kind of what the next step? What is, I know obviously we're going to authorize and we're going to adopt and implement this. What does that mean? And when do we kind of start to see a difference?
So in our August meeting, it's going to be a work session, not a regular meeting. And that's where we're breaking up into teams, providing the teams their goals and asking them to come up with strategies. So as we move into September, it'll be outlined as far as the strategies, what we can get done. We're looking at what can be done in 1 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months, 6 months to a year, and out.
Yeah, so the process is you guys will approve it, go to the full legislative board. The question that we have for you, because we don't know your process, will we have to come back to the board for an amendment once the 5310 Oswego Industries RFP is awarded, or can this resolution encompass all, and all we have to do is put it in? Once the full board approves the legislative board through resolution, we will take a copy of the resolution and the coordinated plan. We will send it to New York State DOT. We will upload it to their website. Then we will be good for another 2 years.
Dave, question or Phil question?
So what we have to do with the resolution.
Let me add to what Frank just said. This is intended to be a living document and a process as we move through solving some of these issues and making some of the goals that are intended here. Changes will need to be made as we uncover new challenges or to be resolved issues. Minor amendments to the language in there, and the question I think that we'd like to have clarified is, will every single one of those need to be legislative approval, or will the legislature accept that this is a living document and trust in the Transportation Advisory Board that we established by your recommendation, you chose those people. And over the course of this 2-year period, do they have the authority to make the amendments that are necessary as this goes forward?
Many of the amendments carry with them any financial obligations, then those amendments have to go through the legislature. I think the comprehensive thinking is an analogy to county comprehension. Comprehensive plan has changes made to that. Those normally go by resolution to the legislature. I see this is very similar.
Right, it would be my preference that we not change by resolution every time we amend anything. That said, I think those points are correct, because we're gonna need to change any financing. I guess the question is adding the name of a vendor enough reason to have to come back for a resolution to add the name of the vendor? I think with our economic development strategic plan.
I think if it's a significant change in how the plan needs to come through.
Could that be something that can be determined by the board? Transportation board.
I think any changes the board, they should check with myself and the county attorney to see if it needs to go through the legislature.
That's great.
Yeah, I have no problem that anything that we're looking at, that I can bring to you to see if it's necessary. So that's up.
That sounds good.
I can see trying to streamline it, but I can also see that this all being new, that in the front end is bound to be quite a few more updates and changes, until we've got a good foundation.
Yeah.
So probably.
Yeah, I guess what I'm looking for, question two, just in the immediate future, is one simple thing. When you do a resolution, all we're looking at for the change for the living document is to put who the the agency is that wins the Oswego Industries Award under 5310. That's all I'm really looking for right now for this living document. When the document is approved, can we just put the name in and it's part of that resolution? Or do you need us to come back for that name, address, phone number under 5310 on page 30 to do an amendment?
The ask question is why the vendor's name has to be in the plan. Why can't it simply reference the vendor chosen or awarded by the legislature, because that changes over years?
My understanding through New York State DOT is we have to put the vendor in there because that gives them the ability to obtain 5310 funds.
Okay. All right, okay.
Okay. I mean, if we need a resolution, Roy, go ahead.
Just so the committee understands that the document that's going to DOT enables us to get the different blocks of money that we get for transportation every year. So if we don't have a plan, we can't necessarily get that money.
So if the vendor ever changes, that would have to come through the legislature anyway. Make that award. And in that resolution, it can also at the same time amend.
Yeah.
Great.
And would this body be comfortable with like a regular report from Transportation Advisory Committee about here's what we've updated relative to the goals and strategies? Then you guys can maybe at this meeting determine whether or not that is something that the whole legislature would need to endorse.
Maybe as part of the informational memo, as part of the reporting or something.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
we can even, if it's just informational purposes, we could even report out at the legislative meeting during the reports from standing committees.
Doesn't reach the level of a resolution.
Well, that's why it's such a good thing that Mel is here second as well as being chair.
She's your second, does she have to stay in like for a duel?
I've got the guns in the case. Okay.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, good turn. As far as we've looked at a lot of different kinds of transportation in the past. Obviously, most of what's here is probably current transportation services that we already have. If you're looking at any other potential additions of transportation that maybe we haven't had, light rail or something along those lines, anything similar to that.
Yes, so we're looking as part of the plan, we're looking at e-bikes, scooters, we're looking at van pooling, We're looking at electric vehicles and the infrastructure for that. It's a 2-year plan that has to be updated every 2 years to submit to New York State DOT to meet their guidelines. So we put everything in the plan that we could, that everybody wanted, and then plus our experience of what's happening in the future. Right now, we're learning about autonomous vehicles, e-vehicles right now, e-buses. The issue right now is the weather conditions in central New York. The technology isn't that advanced to handle our winters. But we do have all the stuff, the electric stuff in the plan. So if something happens miraculously and funding opens up, we can get extra bonus points for having this stuff in our plan. So that's why we put those other modes in our plan. Nothing on light rail yet, but electric and autonomous vehicles, bike share, e-scooters, and van pulling.
Well, the whole volunteer transportation system as well, correct? Volunteer drivers?
Yes, we've got a very active volunteer force. Frank or Monty, you want to speak on what we're doing with volunteers?
Yeah, sure. So we have some exciting programs out there. That one we just got approved a few months ago from New York State DOT, that we are authorized to use CARES Act money to start First Mile, Last Mile. Not sure if it's going to be a volunteer driver program that's going to do it. It's all going to depend on who wins the RFP once the county puts the RFP out. The other program that we're pretty excited about, we put a packet together for Stacy and her group to pass on to Dave, I guess, and his group, and is called Rides to Recovery, in which we use a volunteer driver program to get people with substance abuse disorder and mental health issues transportation to social determinants of health. So we're hoping to institute that in the next 2 years, along with First Mile, Last Mile. We're meeting with a company at 11:45 today that we've had several conversations with, that have a great program on e-bikes and scooters, that there's plenty of money out there that they've secured, that Oswego County has been, we've asked them to put Oswego County and St. Lawrence County in the mix, so that when they're ready to do these pilot projects, that we could bring them to both counties. So those are some of the other modes. The other thing that PTC is doing is they have a contract with the Department of Social Services to provide transportation services for child visitations. So they're doing that. They're actively recruiting volunteer drivers in the Oswego area, and the whole goal that we're all trying to accomplish here is just to give access to all with whatever modes of transportation that we can enact in Oswego County. I hope that answers your question.
Great. Excellent. Thank you again.
Have you looked into, I'm sure you have, utilizing the Uber opportunities or for transport? I mean, every day I hear of other people getting their groceries daily. Now Uber's delivering groceries as well. So there's a service there.
Yeah, so I could tell you a little bit about Uber. So I'm happy to share that in my spare time, which isn't that much, I've been Uber driving around Syracuse and Oswego. And on my initial analysis of it, right now you only have approximately 2 Uber drivers in Oswego County. College students known by name. And I'm not confident that Uber or Lyft. Lyft is practically non-existent in both Syracuse and in Oswego, because Uber's package that they offer drivers is a lot more competitive. So Lyft isn't really a thought in my mind, Monty's in my mind, because of the stuff we've heard and seen. Uber is very limited in Oswego, so I don't know if there's going to be any opportunity there, but we will sure investigate it. The other piece is I'm trying to get Oswego County has very limited taxi cab, reliable taxi cab service in the county. I'm working right now with a taxi cab company to try to get them in Oswego County. What we found is that unless a taxi cab company has been approved through medical answering service to provide Medicaid transportation, along with some contracts with nonprofit agencies to provide service for their clientele, I don't foresee how taxi cab companies in Oswego County can remain sustainable. So we're looking at that. We're hopefully going to bring in a taxi cab company to Oswego. We're also going to look at helping the current taxi cab, which I believe is 4, Monty?
Yes.
4 taxi cab companies, to sit with them and see how we can assist them with providing some Medicaid rides to help make them sustainable. But it's all a process that'll happen over the next 2 years.
And let me add, so when we say 4 taxi cab companies, there are some, I'm going to call them fly-by-nights. That's what, and doing the research and talking to other taxi cab companies, that's just what they were. They weren't reliable. They kind of show up one day. Next week, they're not here for 3 weeks. And so, again, the ones that we listed and that we found were here every day. We've talked to ownership there and kind of have an idea of what they do. They're stable. Prices are a little pricey for what they're charged, but again, it's hard just to explain. It's hard for them to make a living.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Yes. Not, again, gentlemen, I want to thank you for all the work you put into this. You have really helped us to push this down the road, which we need to do. So I appreciate that. Monty, I also want to thank you for agreeing to serve on the central board for us. That was, really exciting to have somebody representing the county on that board for the first time. Geez,
More than that.
more than decades. So again, thank
Yes.
you for that. Look forward to hearing more about that from you as well. So if there's nothing further, again, I want to thank you both for all you put into this, and I'll make sure that if there's any other questions, we will reach out to you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. All right, well, so that we're still on resolution 2. We have a motion in the second, I believe. Is there any further questions? If not, look for a vote to adopt and implement this. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, everyone.
Just close off your computer.
All right, go through the third one here. It's an easy one, resolution authorizing budgetary modification. For a motion. Now the motion, second. Oh, thank you. All right, looks like we received some money and we're just looking to put it in the budget for something else, right?
Pretty much, yeah. We have projects that we've helped people with in the past, and normally they pay a small amount over a long period of time. That's payment schedule is designed to fit into their household budget. But then if they sell their property within a certain time period, they're obligated to pay back the remainder of their indebtedness to us. And when that happens, usually we have to adjust our budget line to accommodate for that. That's all this is. Someone's selling a property that we assisted, they're paying off their debt, and we're just like, and it's.
Okay, questions? Go ahead. Oh, move. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Great. Let's see. All right, well, I think Erica is here. Wonderful to see you. Want to give us a little update? Station, is there any, do you have any show and tell there today? All right, look forward to it.
I believe I know most of everyone here, but I'll just do a quick introduction. I'm Erica Schreiner. I'm the Senior District Technician with Oswego County Soil and Water Conservation District. And I've been doing this line of work for the county, the Soil and Water District for 27 years now. And I haven't been here to report since 2019. I do usually bring some show and tell items, so I thought maybe I should bring a suitcase to like hype out for last time, but I didn't. But I do have a few items to share with you. So I wanted to give just an educational and an agricultural and environmental education program update. Those are the two primary areas that I cover with my job at Soil and Water. So I have a couple of handouts to go with the agricultural portion, so I'll hand those out. One is a brochure about a program that the state allows soil and water districts to administer. The other handout is a before and after of one of our farm projects. So I'm going to wait until those come around and have those to look at.
No cow patties and.
I still have the fake cow patty. I'll take that maybe for another day. But I'll kind of ease back into
It was a little intense making that scratches there.
Right, I know. So the primary agricultural program that I administer is called Agricultural Environmental Management. It's a program that's put out by Ag and Markets in Albany, and it has been going for approximately 17 years. So it's a framework that we use for our planning. It's used by all the soil and water districts across New York State, and it involves from the very beginning meeting with a farmer to see what their environmental needs may be, all the way through a more intense planning process. And then if there is a water quality concern on their farm, then we can look for funding to help address those water quality issues. So again, this is a framework. It's a Ag and Markets program that we do at soil and water districts, and then funding comes to us to do the planning part and the implementation part of that. And so when I work with farms, I wouldn't advise someone on what crops to plant or how to breed their cows, what seeds to use, what fertilizers to use. My concern is what might be leaving the farm as far as nutrients, sediment, and what can I do to help keep the nutrients in the soil and on the farm, how to help them utilize the manure resource if they have livestock. And so that's kind of my angle as far as the agricultural end of it. The before and after picture that you have is what I call one of my typical farm projects. So the picture on the top was an untreated barnyard in the town of Scriba. The livestock would congregate on the gravel pad in the top part of the picture. And as you can imagine, if there's a heavy rainstorm, the manure piles up during the winter time, and then we have our snow melt in the spring. Any of that manure has the potential to run off of that pad through the unvegetated outer barnyard area and into an unnamed tributary into Lake Ontario. So if you can apply that to any part of the county, it could be any stream, any waterway. We're trying to keep those nutrients and the sediment out of the waterways. So what we would do in this situation, again, we go through a whole planning process. It's not something farmers will say, oh, well, when you find a bag of money, could you please come back to my farm? It's a very structured process so that we make sure that the farms that we're helping have that need and that we can address it properly. And all the projects that we do follow Natural Resources Conservation Service federal guidelines. So again, it's a very formal process that we go through, and it does take, could take anywhere from 2 to 4 years from the very start of what I call the kitchen table meeting with the farmer to obtaining some funding for them further down the road. So that's what this farm operation worked through with me, and by the time we get to the bottom photo, we can see that we have a concrete curb around the existing concrete pad that was at the farm, and then we have a PVC see that pipe coming off to the left side of the picture there. So in simple terms, what this means is we're keeping the clean water clean. The farmer already had a roof on his barn, so any rain that fell dropped into a gutter, we made sure that we took that water from the gutter to a safe outlet away from the barnyard so it couldn't mix in with the manure. And with the addition of the curbing, any manure that lands on that pad from the animals, especially being in a confined area for the winter time. In the summer, we know lots of times the animals are out on pasture, so we don't have that concentrated source of manure. So again, the manure is contained within that pad. It allows the farmer then in the spring to scoop that up and properly apply it onto their fields as a fertilizer source. But if we do have any liquids that come off of there, the water will come out. It will filter into that PVC pipe, and I use the analogy of if you're making pasta and then you're going to strain it when it's time to eat it. All the solids stay in the colander or your strainer, and then the water is allowed to exit. So that's what happens here. The water exits through that PVC pipe. The idea is to slow the water down and let it filter through a vegetated area before it can reach any water course. So again, a typical type of implementation project that we do, but we also work with non-livestock farms, and we might do something like putting a buffer along a stream, asking that farm, instead of cropping maybe 5 or 10 feet up to the stream side, let's move it back maybe 20, 30, 40 feet even, and plant a vegetated buffer to help keep the sediment out. So that's a little bit, yes, right ahead.
I just want to bring up the point of tile drainage. Tile drainage is taken, that perforated pipe or plastic pipe, generally in a 4-inch diameter, and it goes to all sizes. You put it in the soil where we used to have an open ditch. Now we use tile drainage of approximately 50, 60 feet, depending on the drainage systems on your land, but that filters about 3 feet to 3.5 feet. That's a filtration system too. Are they doing programs like that? Because they used to. Is there much going on in that field?
They used to. They have taken tile drainage out because they consider that to be more of a production option for a farm. But it could always come back. The program is constantly changing as far as what's allowed and what's not funding purposes.
Well, because a lot of areas have declared water,
Right, too wet, or you're putting your fertilizer on, and it's right. Yes, essentially.
And I'm not talking about farm production necessarily. I'm talking about land in general, was commercial land, wherever it is, to eliminate ditches, so to speak, or non-filtered areas, and there's pumping systems. In our particular farm, we have automated systems. Water goes in them, and they start up and pump the water out, maintain a flow of water. I'm just bringing that up as not only production, but other areas that can be done. That we look at, while the water runs there, it's a swamp, we don't say we drain swamps, but we can't help control water.
On that note, it's good to say too, is that the end result of this farm planning isn't always, a grant to do a big project. We also offer technical assistance to farms. So if you did want to put, for example, some tile drainage in, it's not currently a funded program through our office, but you wanted some assistance, we would come out and do the survey work for that, and then provide you with a design back telling you how, what grade to install the tile, where to outlet it, and so forth. So that's another option, something that we offer to a farm. Again, if we can't offer a grant program for them. But I am wrapping up at the end of this year. From 2020 and 21, our office received a grant for $180,000 that covers our planning process, and then we're doing 5 implementation projects. Again, somewhat similar to this one that I shared the pictures with, just to give you a little idea about that. And then I will be able to apply by the end of this year for up to $200,000 to cover the next 2 years beyond that. So we really, our folks in Albany through Ag and Markets have really listened to districts and saying that we need some opportunities for non-competitive funds, because you may see the articles in the paper about Onondaga County, there's a $1.5 million project for one particular farm. We have smaller farms here, and our projects don't often rate competitively across the state. So some of these funds, $100,000 every 2 years, ideally is what we're looking to see. That helps the smaller farms, and especially in this county, to be able to apply for some funds to address them. Anyone has any questions on the AEM or the agricultural environmental management portion? I'll move on to the free environmental education program.
I just want to say you do a fabulous job. It's my favorite department. I
Thank
freeze
you.
injected under the guidance of your
Okay, through Joe for the
department. Yeah.
dashboard, wonderful.
And I hope in the future we address the use of Roundup.
Okay.
I have to be excused. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much
Thank
for
you
that
for what you do.
compliment.
Love the entire department. And Roundup truly concerns me at every level. What it does for our waterway,
What my department?
I know. Words can't describe.
Thanks.
All right. That's it. Is there any other questions before I could jump on to the next group? If not, thank you.
All right, thank you much. So the three environmental education programs that we do, the first one occurs in April of each year. That's the Plant a Tree program. And our office coordinates with Cornell Cooperative Extension of Oswego County to deliver that program. It's funded in part by Exelon Generation and the Oswego County Federation of Sportsmen's Clubs. Those two groups give us the funding to help us to distribute tree seedlings and educational materials to students in grades pre-K through 5 within the county. That program's been going since 1992, so this was our 30th year. And we did distribute about 4,300 tree seedlings. The signups do change from year to year, and you can imagine with COVID, especially last year, we had a decrease in the number of participants simply because schools weren't sure how to get those trees to the students. But in the end, the ones that did pick up the tree seedlings, most of them were distributed through the food distribution program. So we thought that was super creative of the schools to help us still be able to get those tree seedlings out. So they're Norway spruce seedlings. They're just little guys, very small. And so over the course of the 30 years, we have distributed 129,000 of those tree seedlings. And we have heard some really cool stories on our Facebook page. We posted some of those that we've had people send in pictures of, 25-year-old trees that their child got when they were in school. So the idea of that program was just to help students become environmental stewards and have their own little tree to take care of. We give out some tree resources to all the teachers that participate. There's an activity book for the younger grades, K through 2. And part of what I do as well is ask the participants to send thank you notes to the sponsors. So each year we get really nice, sometimes really nice artwork and just little thank you notes thanking the sponsors for the trees. And I make sure that those get delivered to Exelon and to the Sportsmen's Federation. So I'm happy that that program is coming back with higher participation now that they were moving through COVID a little bit. The next program that we do is called the Envirothon. That's for high school students. And through that program, they study the topics of aquatics, current environmental issues, soils, forestry, and wildlife. We typically have teams from 7 to 8 of the 9 districts in the county participate in that program. The students study those subject areas throughout the school year. There is a curriculum designed by the New York State Envirothon program, so we just follow that here in Oswego County. And the students work in teams of 5, so they can pool their resources and their knowledge. They work together. It's a good teamwork program. And in non-COVID years, we meet on the first Thursday in May at, we've been at Camp Zerby, Camp Hollis, the North Shore Sportsmen's Association, Amboy 4-H Environmental Education Center. We move the program around the county to different facilities. The students come to the Envirothon and they take hands-on exams in those different subject areas that I mentioned. So they take 25 multiple choice questions. Some of the questions, I brought some of the hands-on materials that they may see at the station. So at the wildlife station, we might have a muskrat pelt there and ask them questions. So what semi-aquatic mammal that likes wetlands, ponds, lakes, and marshes? So if they don't know what a muskrat is, it's going to be kind of a tough question for them. But again, we make it multiple choice. So we ask that they really study the subject materials that are provided on the New York State Enviroplan website. So that might be at the wildlife station. You could also see that type of question at the aquatic station. I have a small scale model of a gabion basket. These you might see along streams or rivers. It helps hold size and provide stability. So we might ask them questions about the gabion basket. You can see this at the wildlife or aquatic station. We have a wood duck egg and a killdeer egg. We might ask them what type of bird they would see along the shorelines of our fabulous dune system on the shores of eastern Lake Ontario. So a killdeer egg. And if it was at the soil station, we would have a soils pit. Joe, the district manager of our office, he's in charge of the forestry exam, so he'll have different trees for the students to identify. It's a super fun program. And the past 2 years, 21 and 20, we did the program virtually, so not quite the same, but we were still able to offer that program to the students. And we hope to be back in person in 2022 for that. But just a little recap, we had only 3 high schools participate in 2020, but APW did win for Oswego County. For the virtual event, we did combine with other counties across the state just to make it so that not each district was doing its own virtual program. So again, APW won in 2020, and this year we had Oswego and Fulton participate virtually, and Fulton was the winner of that virtual Envirothon for this year. Both of those teams went on then to the virtual state Envirothon. So it is a local program, but then also goes up to the state level. And I will make sure to invite the committee to next year's Envirothon. Again, hopefully we can do that in person. We are scheduled to be at the North Shore Sportsmen's Association, and we were going to have the 30th anniversary of the Envirothon program last year. So we haven't officially had an Oswego County Envirothon yet, so we're still holding the 30th. And we can be in person. So we'll try again in 2022. And the final program we do is called Conservation Field Day. That's for 5th grade students. We typically have that at Selkirk Shores State Park. We have natural resource professionals come and talk to the students for 20 minutes each. The students go to 5 stations set up at Selkirk. And we have topics from tree identification, wastewater treatment, how to make a turkey call, ice fishing, insect Olympics. So lots of different fun topics for the students. That's going to be a very interactive program. We have also done that virtually in 2020, and then we also decided to do that again for this year, just not knowing what the new school year is going to bring. The program is very early in September, and we thought, let's just, I guess, be safe and plan to do it virtually. So what I did last year is went to meet with a lot of our presenters. I videotaped them giving their presentation, and then we tried to have an activity to go with that presentation, and I put all that on a Google platform for the teachers to be able to access. We're going forward with our programs in a little bit different format like everybody else, but let's see what happens for next year. And again, I'll make sure to invite the folks on this committee to those programs if you're interested. I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody.
Thanks, Larry. That's such amazing information. It's good to have you here and give us that
I miss
update.
seeing everybody. I could have brought a whole suitcase full of stuff.
I hate to ask this question, but does the department get any people asking about the Sandy outlet? Do you get anybody?
No, we haven't had anybody, no, as far as the birds, picking plovers.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have not had anybody.
I'm just wondering, is that something that, I mean, you have the facts or what?
We haven't.
Can you move birds? Can you do things? I'm not trying to create I'm not trying to put this on your shoulders, but
Well,
I
right.
think sometimes, because it's destroying the economics.
Right, it's a super
In
complex.
the community there,
Yeah.
what do you do? We've had discussions in the IDA, so. Environmentally, what can we do? It's an issue, and it's a bad issue, and it's, if it's 200 feet within the outlet, the bird of nest, and they cannot develop and clean it. outlet.
And we don't have any regulatory authority over any of that. All we could probably do is just talk.
You could
folks
refer
and
to-
help direct them.
Refer some
Right.
people where to talk to. And, yeah, you do a fabulous job, don't get me wrong, but
Yes, I know.
things like this come up that,
Right.
from the economic development really hurts. and the expertise is where they might want to go. How they get it. That's my look now.
That's good points. Questions? Anybody have anything else for it?
But you don't have one of those big Wilbur.
No, I don't have a piping full of right.
No. That'd probably be worse.
Probably
than
be
what
something I wouldn't show around, yeah.
Right. Well, if not, thank you, Erica, again. Thank you for coming to see us and bringing all that great information. Appreciate all you guys do. So, especially in the difficult last couple of years and come up with ways for us to still educate the kids. I really appreciate it.
And be creative like everybody else.
That's great. All right. Well, we will jump over. I think all we have left then is Dave. Do you have some updates for us today? Or
I'm going to defer to county administrator today because I think the most important update that we would share is in his area of expertise, and it's related to the national sanctuary process.
Yes, I just wanted to update the committee because there's been a change to the public hearing process of the National Marine Sanctuary, which, well, public hearings begin August 18th. Due to the Delta variant, it was planned to have in-person public hearings in Oswego and Clayton have been changed to virtual. However, so I'm getting you the new schedule and the new sign-in information in case you want to either sign in or join in and make a comment or join in and hear what your constituents may be saying. Because eventually we'll probably want to put together our own statement as a county government reaction to their draft environmental plan, draft management plan, which they published online and in hard copy. There's 2 office copies if you're interested in perusing them in our office. This is also all available online. If you have a town or historical society or a fishing group, if you think would like a copy of this, let me know. I can get you a copy of it. What they have done is they're looking for public comment basically on the overall value, whether people support or not, but also on their proposed regulations, which for the most part mimic state federal regulations that are already in place, except that they want to be able to have a permit process that's free for anybody who wants to operate a remote operated vehicle around shipments. Just so that they can have an idea of who's out there and what their qualifications are around. The other thing they're seeking input on is the boundaries. They have 2 alternatives. One that was the original one that we proposed, which is lake out to the international border from Wayne County up through Jefferson County. Second alternative adds in some of the St. Lawrence River because of the large number of accessible shipwrecks in that stretch of river. Pluses and minuses to both. The expanding it to include the river means maybe a little more stretch on resources and attention to the various areas along the river. Plus is it does provide, because of the number of wrecks, it is a marketing opportunity. It will draw more attention to the sanctuary than otherwise. A lot of the wrecks we have down here are in deeper water. So again, this is about tourism, it's about economic development, business attraction, education, research. So schools have a stake in this as well. But I wanted to let you know that the public hearing schedule had changed. This is not your only opportunity to say anything. They're having public hearings on these draft management plan and the draft impact statement. We're going to take everybody's comments, go back, make any changes they need, republish them in the final, and have another public hearing series in the spring. You see that reaction. Make sure that they've handled everything that people wanted handled. And tentatively designation, if all goes well, is scheduled for fall next year, where we can have a national park.
22.
Yep.
I would think that when stretching it, as you said, you'd be stretching the money, but it's such a huge tourism area. I would think you'd be able to find additional funds brought to you because of the promotional opportunities up there.
And although their additional area doesn't include all of St. Lawrence County, it includes part of it, it does bring Fifth County in at zero interest as well. And St. Lawrence County seems very interested in this. So, yeah, I don't have a preference one way or the other. We originally did not include St. Lawrence, our nomination, because of the variety of interest groups up there with that applicant thing. But Noah's has done a great job of public outreach. That doesn't seem to be, people seem to be on board with this. I think there may be a couple of diverse groups that are a little leery because we're very independent type people and we might be able to do whatever we want. But I think that's being handled appropriately and by and large they're really very responsible.
Well, I want to thank you because I know for a number of years, you sent him down in the water. He's one of those guys who go down in the water. And he's talked about this for a number of years. And I thank you because it will be a tremendous tourism event for us to have here.
We can get this here plus convert Fort Ontario to a national park. That would be two national parks here.
Combination of all this, it's great.
On the back page, Phil,
Yep.
when the diagram, the photograph at the bottom,
Yeah.
can you actually pronounce that one that's up above the Hawaiian Islands?
Nobody can. But, what I like about that map is it shows the elite group that we become part of.
Yeah.
That's great. Exciting. All right, anybody have any questions?
So you're looking for us to provide input again?
If you want to provide input during the public hearings, you can. You can do it in writing. Or if you just want to listen in and see what people are saying to inform yourselves of how people feel. And then as a legislature, pass a resolution or do a letter or something before it's, fortunately, the public comment period ends September 10th. So we have a legislature meeting September 9th. So what I wanted to do for the legislature is rather than do a resolution or something now, give the opportunity to hear these public hearings and then come back and put anything into a statement of support, but we got a couple of concerns here that I'd like you to address. Gives you the flexibility to say what you want to say September.
I do believe we should, if we can, some type of support from this legislature.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be very handy to have for us to be able to vote for expansion or.
Well, I think we have already.
Yeah, we did in the original nomination. But I also just wanted to give you the information so that you can help promote the idea of people falling in.
Yes.
Well, it would seem a shame, the small amount of it, 62 additional square miles, and there's like 21 additional reps.
Yeah.
All right, anything else? Dave, do you want to give us a little update on the rescue plan? Where we stand on everything, the funding that we have, some of just the process stuff, doesn't be very much, just kind of a quick update, and I've done a lot of that over the last month since our last meeting.
So, I guess the biggest, change since the last time we spoke is that the public comment period on the interim final rule has closed. And that we expect sometime soon a final rule will come out and we'll actually know for sure how we can use these funds. And also, one thing that we mentioned early on in the process, it's starting to come to fruition. There's so much more additional money outside of the funds that we were directly allocated. And as an example, the U.S. Economic Development Agency recently announced 6 different programs, 4 of which be of interest to us. and that's billions more in various groups. One is for workforce, and our workforce folks are looking at that already. One is for tourism activities. We've been looking into that, and we'll do so later today. One is for just kind of general infrastructure, and one is for the regular type of EDA activities that they do to support job creation. All have additional monies in them. Other federal agencies are coming forward almost on a daily basis with additions to their regular program funds. We've met so far with, most recent was the health medical services delivery folks, met with the human service agencies, tourism folks, significant employers in the county, and then the elected officials. And then last week, Chairman Butterup, myself, and legislator Willard met with the mayors and supervisors associations. First time that those folks could remember ever having a joint meeting. So that was very productive, and we talked to them about how people can work together to have the most impact of these funds. So Thursday, we'll be talking to the department heads, and after that, there'll be some kind of like summary meeting for members of the legislature and bring everybody up to speed on where we are today.
Great, Tom. It's almost becoming overwhelming, the number of opportunities coming our way to take advantage of them all. And I've already, just yesterday, received from the Treasury the template reports. We got to start finally using the money. So
You have to use it within,
well, we have to have a report. The first report's due August 31st. And anything we have
No,
done.
that's just the county, right?
Has to be
That's just the county.
allocated in
It
2024.
has to be allocated by December 2024 and fully spent by December 2026.
and what about the restaurant, program that we just went through? It went, 7 hours? Did we sell out or something?
A little less than 7 hours, 5,000 and change in individual vouchers. And I've spoken to many of the restaurants who signed up so far. They said it's going very well. They've been pleased with the process and haven't had any complaints yet from the treasurer's team. That was my biggest concern. So far, that's going well. And we haven't had any complaints yet about anybody trying to fraudulently duplicate a voucher.
That's what I was wondering, if somebody can print out 2 or 3 of them and use them, how do we monitor that?
So we've encouraged the vendors to write the voucher number on their gift certificate or on the gift card envelope and say to the consumer, make sure you don't lose this number because you're going to need that when you come back to redeem this. That creates an awareness in that person that somebody's keeping track of these numbers. And hopefully that will be a deterrent. Talk to the treasurer about how to enforce that if we went into it. And kind of like wait and see. If it happens, we'll deal with it. We think there'll probably be some vouchers that people don't turn in. And so we'll have a little bit of a buffer. And if we get one voucher that was used twice, do we want to spend a lot of resources to chase that person down and try to collect them? Or do we just pay the restaurant and be satisfied that we only had one? I think if we find a flagrant abuse, then we talk to the county attorney about assisting with processing. So we'll know who people are.
Yeah, I
We
mean,
have a name with every number, so
yeah.
it won't be hard to track them down.
And the thing is, it's not, they have to spend money
Yes.
to get money. So I mean, it's not like it's a freebie either. It isn't like this is free money. Well, you still have to spend money to get money.
Right.
Hopefully we can have another one of these at some point. And if and when we do, I would love, because I feel I individually and perhaps other legislators too, that we missed the vote by not knowing who signed up for them in our district, because had I known there was restaurants that hadn't signed up, I would have personally gone and said, dude, are you aware of this? Because the onus should be on us. And you can't be going to all of these over and over and over if people aren't looking. But each of us, we know the businesses in our town, in our districts that should have signed up. And I didn't think to even ask about a list prior to all of a sudden seeing it and saying, oh my God, why didn't this, and this sign up? So I take that onus on myself, so I hope we have another one and I'm able, and others are able to go out and sell these businesses.
And the other question that, answer that we've been talking about is there a way to expand this to just beyond only restaurants? Other businesses that something doing.
Yeah, a lot of your service industries, barber shops and salons and stuff like that, spas, they couldn't be open and they lost money.
Well, even, I mean, if you think about small retail's been devastated. I mean, the ability to get the inventory you need to sell to make money has been, supply chains missing. I mean, it's been very difficult. So, no, I echo that as well.
I think we'd be happy to hear any recommendations along that line. One thing that Phil and I and the chairman have discussed was trying to sort through was how do you define that group?
Yeah.
If you say small business, there's got to be some really clear identity of what we mean by small.
Not a chain, not a chain.
50 employees or less, 25 employees or less, no national chains. You know, we need to, at some point, somebody's going to get cut out. So how do we logically and fairly come up with that definition of where those are going to be eligible?
And I know Erie County did a really large one as well a little while ago. They included small businesses. So they probably, you know, I'm sure we can find a good one.
But maybe
I've started some research through the Small Business Association to see what kind of dollars are out there for the idle loans that but those are not being forgiven, such as the PPP.
Right.
And the idle advance are being forgiven. I'm starting to compile some data that I'll share with it's been a little tenuous to get the data. We had to reach all the way down to Washington, D.C. to get it. It's funny that they didn't have it compiled yet. They have compiled everything up through December for me. I have a spreadsheet on some clarification for sharing.
Another complication in that process is, for example, we had 60 some vendors apply, participate in this. Could have been more, but we could have had 80, 90 total. There was people who did not want to participate for various reasons. But if we expanded it to every small business, we could have hundreds. And then that process that we just used where they register ahead of time with the treasurer's office to become a vendor in their system, that could be overwhelming to use this same process for all small businesses. So we might have to think about a different way, something pretty similar to what the city of Oswego did. But definitely, it was the desire of the legislature to do that. I think with some help, we could figure out a way to.
I know I've talked to a couple of them that did it, and they were like, they've gotten so many people in that they never had before. And that to me was huge.
That's good.
That they had new people coming in, and like this one's new, and this one's new, and this one's new. So that really, it's not just bringing the old people back, it's letting other people wanting to do it. So I saw it as a huge good thing. I just would like to do it again.
Of course.
I'd like to bring up a point. I've been a member of the advisory board for regional airport. And we had one time posted it. It's coming up again. I haven't taken and said we had one. Would we It's good to have that airport on board. And it might be a good idea. If I just bring it up before the group, we can discuss it at any point, but the regional board comes here and has a meeting. He did it once, and, it might require, putting on a feeding at noon or something. I can do more work on it if need be, but I mean, being the fact it's a regional airport, it's quite important to our area, quite important. They're very good to work with. They've had changes with their executive, person up there and all that, so I just bring this up.
6 months. Roy?
Curious about kind of what your sense of the timing, is gonna be. And I have a specific issue in my area. Cleveland and Constantia has a joint sewer project. I don't know how familiar you are with where they are, but, they had a rate for the new district of around, $800, and they don't have enough grant money to do it. And they have a deadline coming up like September, in order to use for other grant monies. Has anybody made you aware of that? And is there gonna be any, can you look into that? Can you contact somebody? Or should I have you contact somebody? Because I think they just had the estimate has gone now from 800 or whatever it was, per household to 960. And they actually sent out a survey. So the people in the survey agreed, but it's going to be quite a hardship to have that be so much extra, I think. And if we had a chance to put some of this towards that project, which has to fly soon, I would like to have that on the radar. And there might be other ones out there like that that we don't know about.
Do you know who Dave need to contact or be in touch with?
You could probably contact the town of Constantia supervisor. And mostly, I don't have. But I know I attended a meeting, last month, and they said they were going to try to see if the people in the district would approve it. But I know that the engineers have said that there is a contingency that the grant money has to be, if the project has to go forward by sometime in September, or they're gonna lose the grant money.
But they received their portion of the ARP funding yet.
So most everybody has.
It's thinking, so.
Yeah, but I mean, that's, for the town, it's $100,000. So
That's all.
there's $1 million shortfall right now to a big project that's important for an Idle Lake.
Okay.
Yeah, I think,
Would we have the ability to move something fast if there's the potential to help something like that? Or is this just gonna go on and on and on, that we're gonna keep meeting with people and then we're gonna bring it back in months from now? I don't know.
that's something that's beyond, my and Bill's ability to answer, because our understanding is that the legislature is gonna decide on the process.
Yeah, but
Or how to-
we haven't been informed of anything that is on the table yet, except for this restaurant
Yeah.
one, which is like, oh, well, let's do that.
Well, the question is, do we have the authority to move? We've seen we have the authority to move with the restaurant. The question is this an authorized expense of the money? That would be the first step, I would think. After that, we've talked about this a little. We don't really necessarily have the process yet. The restaurant one, we all agreed as a legislature. If this was something we all agreed as a legislature, and if it was an acceptable expense, the money, then there's no legal reason we couldn't move quickly. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, legally, no. I think, I understand this is an important project, for your district, but I think it's fair to say that most of your colleagues have similar, issues, and talk to the folks in the Sandy Creek area, they tell you that they need the sewer projects bad, and they have money, but they need more money to make it affordable for people.
Do they have one that's gonna close or
Yeah,
not, perhaps go in September,
Right.
is my point.
I think I'd be happy to talk to anybody over there and try to help them. I think the first step would be, given that it's August and we're hearing that it's gonna go away in September, first step would be try to.
I may
intervene
not
and
be
get an extension.
correct on the date. I didn't write down the date.
Yeah.
The first thing we got to do is talk to them and understand what the need is. And if that's gonna be their ask, they need to get that to us.
Maybe I'll have the engineer talk context. He may be one that's most touch with. I said the potential deadlines.
With respect to the process, not to pass the buck, but that's something you have to speak to the chairman.
I will do that. Yep.
And then if I could just, one last thing we did with our partnership with Strategic that the legislature has funding towards each year through our budget. They did work with them and with Dave in his office, and they put forward put forward 4 funding applications. Is that correct?
Yeah, and one of those is germane to this conversation. We've applied for funds to do a countywide analysis of all the water and sewer and broadband assets that exist. Who owns them? Where are they? What kind of condition are they in? What kind of debts associated with any of them? And gather all this information and then bring folks across the county together and say, if there was a way to do this better, would you be interested in doing it? And part of this grant will help make that analysis about whether it's feasible to have some other kind of quasi-governmental entity own, manage, and maintain all those assets in a way that's effective for everybody and fair, and with a greater chance of growing them as opposed to just band-aiding them every day to keep going forward. We think it's a very competitive application, and we got letters from several communities around the county showing their support, and some that even said that they're willing, as of that day, they said, I'll commit money to help make it happen. So we think we're looking forward to hearing the results of that application.
So very excited about those.
That's great, intermunicipal sharing and ideas and money. Excellent.
And there probably could be some additional funds through our shared services monies at some point.
That's,
So, all right. Again, thank you for all the work you guys did over the last year. A very busy year, or month, I'm sorry. Anything else before we close up? Anybody? Not. Thank you again for the appropriate motion.
I'll make it.
All right, second by Roy. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.